Let's try that again. Sorry, guys. Little hiccups on the programming notes here, but
Good show,
we are
guys.
live. Welcome. Episode 6. Hope you guys have had a great week. We've got Ben, our trading cards, down below me here. We've got Doug from Mojo Break to my right, and of course, I'm Stephan Loeffler, Junkwax Twins. Hobby's only live call-in show, live Saturday and Monday. In this case, 7 p.m. Central, 5 Western. Follow us on Twitter at Hobby Hotline. Available podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, everywhere else you can find us. How's it going, guys?
I'm doing good. I was waiting for Ben to jump in. I always let the A's fans jump in first. You know what I mean? Since I haven't won a championship in a while, and it's alphabetical. So I'm doing great. Looking forward to another fun show.
Awesome.
Sorry, guys. I was trying to get the pop-out chat going, and so I had my mic muted. But I'd like to know what 5 Western is. Is that like a new time zone or something?
That this is why I don't host things. But filling in as needed, being the producer, you know how it is.
The West is the best, so I get it.
So you just decided to change the whole time zone because I'm the host now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Tom Hanks movie. I'm the captain now. Cool.
Indeed.
No longer Pacific. It's
Captain Philip.
Western time. Gotcha. All right. Good times, man. Yeah. 30 minutes ago, I was taking a nap. Getting ready to wake up for a conference call, and then next thing I know, I'm on with you guys, seeing your pretty faces.
I don't think I've taken a nap during the day in 15 years, man. What's that like?
You're old, dude. Why haven't you?
I can't. I don't have any time. I got stuff to do.
Can you even call yourself an adult if you don't take afternoon naps because you have to, not because you want to?
I know. I don't have to take. I mean, I probably should, but that's why I pass out at like 9 o'clock. I'm trying to watch Yellowstone, and I'm falling asleep. So
I just figured you laid on Dan's nap or on his lap, and he kind of pet the side of your beard, and go to sleep.
Sometimes when I've had a tough day, that's how I go to sleep. Yeah,
he's not a cat.
Sings Sweet Nothings in my ear, and fall asleep.
If he doesn't want to sing, just put me like on speakerphone. I'll sing while he rubs your beard. I mean,
which song would you sing though? I mean, there's only certain ones that might be able to put me to sleep. So
I don't know. It'd probably be some James Taylor or something. Okay. Years ago, I'm driving down the car and I put James Taylor on because I love James Taylor. And my daughter's like, "Why are we listening to him, Dad? I'm not even tired." And I'm like, "You literally can listen to him without it leading to a nap. Not very often, but
yeah, exactly."
Definitely not smelly cat, but side chat going on there. I'm gonna dump the link into chat. I hope that works. I think it did. Looks like it went. Cool. But I had one major pressing no. It did not. Either you have the
wonderful world of future naps await you. I know. I can't wait. I really can't. I just got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old right now, so it doesn't really happen. It's, hey, can we play? Can we go outside? Stuff like that.
I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I get them. I'll tell you what, Benadryl works wonders. So does melatonin. Just pop up melatonin and say, hey, come lay with Daddy. Let's watch a show. You're getting sleepy.
You mean candy doesn't put them to sleep? Damn it, I've been doing it wrong for all these years.
Yes, but their love is available to you. It's for sale, and you're buying it. So that's what matters, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe you can buy yourself a new hat one of these days.
Actually, this is a brand new hat, dude. San Jose Giants, baby. Just came in today. I was going to wear my Sharks one, and then this one came in, so I put it on.
You bought another one on purpose?
I have like 50 of them. They get worn out, and they get sweaty, and buy another hat.
Looks like they did go through. Link is in chat. You're going to have to discombobulate it a little bit. Apparently, you can't send links unless you have the main show account. Might need to make mods for all of us so we can do that, or have someone who does.
Copy and paste it.
Who's
coming up? What do you guys want to talk about?
Either way, so first caller.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
See, Brad gets it. He even knows the song.
It's actually got the voice. Might put me to sleep now.
There you go.
We're gonna do a card collector Zoom meeting. Everybody's going to take a collective nap together.
Dude,
20
3
of us.
o'clock naps. 3 o'clock naps rule. If you haven't had the 3 o'clock nap before, you need the 3 o'clock. 3 to maybe 3:30, 3:45 stretching it. Make sure you have that 4 o'clock meeting scheduled. 15 minutes to be down in some type of energy, something. You're good to go. You are good to go.
Before I jumped on this show, I was breaking some Series 2 jumbo, so I did get close to falling asleep. But then I knew the show was coming up, so I woke myself.
How was the collation? As terrible as everything that came before it?
I don't even look at the first 40 cards; just go right to the bottom. So I don't know. No, I'm kidding. It was pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, but one of the boxes did not have a Luis Robert, but all the other ones did. So.
At least we're seeing blasters in the wild now, right? For all of those player medallions that people are charging stupid prices for because they've got to get their $20 back. Because literally, you open a blaster, it's either the medallion or the Robert rookie. That's it. Mm-hmm. Nothing else is at all. I mean, and plus, being 3 weeks late to the table doesn't help. Everybody's already got what they want. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I don't even see them in my target. They have nothing. So all my targets around here have zero anything.
Interestingly, I found hangers at the Targets in Arlington. If you want to make your trek down, Brad.
I'm all in.
Cooper Street, down by the south of the stadium.
Only an hour and a half drive, 2 hours by Dallas traffic.
Yeah, exactly. So what's in your mind before we hit our major topic today?
Oh, let's just go. Actually, question about logoed versus non-logoed. I'm being back in. Why are people so adverse to the non-logo product? I mean, you've got some that are really, really bang that are really good looking. That just people just don't like. I understand. Okay, that doesn't have the logo, but I mean, there's some great product out there. Some good refractors, some good card stock out there that nobody seems to really pay attention to.
Doug, you want to take that one since it's kind of in your wheelhouse?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. People just love seeing the team logo on there. I guess it doesn't feel as special to some people. To me, it doesn't matter. I'm a big optic baseball fan. And I think with the non-license, you get to do a lot more. Like you'll see prospect autos and Panini stuff along with the rookie autos. You'll see a lot more content. I mean, even if you go to some of the Leaf stuff, you get a whole sort of stuff where they don't have to abide by the MLB players rules that Topps has to. So, I mean, for me, I think Panini does a good job on a lot of the products of, not making you realize there's no logos. But I think, just true card collectors, a lot of them have stuck to having the Topps logo stuff.
Yeah, I think we're going to get into a topic here in just a little bit about parallels that kind of spurned from a conversation my dad and I argument we got in earlier when I had to kind of school
an argument.
But, yeah, I know this was live and in person, so it was completely new to me. But for me as a collector, I don't care. Just give me an A's card. I think it really comes down to that resale value. That those that are speculating, those gamblers and whatnot, they just don't have the same resale value on the secondary market because there aren't as many collectors. So you're taking a portion of a finite consumer base and shrinking it even further. As a collector, I think Panini Prism has some of the most gorgeous color parallels. Right now Topps Finest is still relatively new as well. And I'm getting a lot of Finest and Prism in the mail every day at the same time. And to me, Finest is amazing, but Prism is even better. And you get so much more with those. And some of them are crazy, right? Donut circles, this and that, and plaid prisms, but they're fun. And there's so many to choose from. On one hand, we can argue and be negative about it, or we can flip the script and say, man, there's so many to choose from. Just pick your favorite color or 2 or 10 and chase your favorite players or your team or whatever. But, I think a lot of people, like Doug said, are just predisposed to I have to have the logo because I've always had the logo. So
yeah, and I was going to say, do you think because Topps is, the original, and they still have the license to today, that people don't want to accept anything new? Do you think that's also plays into it?
Well, let's look at the Leaf stuff. Some of the Leaf, it's not, some of the Leaf actually looks pretty decent, and I like Prism. I really, really like Prism. The color, the sharp, yeah, and some of the Donruss rated rookies. be honest, people. If you look at the secondary market for Donruss rated rookies, it's sometimes equal, if not better, than the tops, Series 1 or Series 2, just because of the, for lack of a better phrase, the chromium or the look or whatever. I found the Donruss rated rookies actually selling better on the secondary market. So I just couldn't figure out why everybody was so adverse to non-logoed versus logoed when some of the cards actually look better. I mean, it was just very interesting to me.
And maybe my introduction is a little weird, but I mean, what's really the difference between Panini with no logos and cards from the 90s where they were milk based, or even further back like the 70s, the milk duds, where they didn't have the logo? Do we really need it to know that Max Kepler is on the Twins, or this guy is on that team, this guy's on that team? Babe Ruth played for the Yankees, obviously. Sure, the logo's nice. I'm broadcasting two of them at the moment, but subpar senators. It's nice, but I don't think it's really mandatory. And coming from a huge love of Diamond Kings, where it's more artistic based anyway, I don't absolutely need it to be there. And some of the images are that much nicer, designs or logos, year to year.
Yeah. From a breaker standpoint, one thing that this is an issue that we always run into that slows down the break, is when you're doing like a elite product and it's just guys that haven't been drafted you're not familiar with, and it just says Los Angeles or New York or Chicago.
Yeah.
That kind of like, they could put like an A or, something to signify the team. Sometimes they'll even be in their minor league uniform, which is black. And then you'll be like, okay, it's Yankees. They're like, no, it's Mets. It's one of their minor league outfits, and it has, it dons the black colors. So that's more of a, a breaker problem. It's slowing down the break. Have to Google everything and see what team they play for.
Oh, wah, come on. Oh, us big breakers. Oh,
Breakers have
it's hard, man.
Yeah, it's so tough. So tough opening up baseball and football cards for a living, calling it
my thumbs, man.
a living.
Yeah,
right?
looking right behind you, that looks like a real pain to have to stare at. That
nice. This is our newly purchased junk wax. For now.
In his big 2,000 square foot shop where he's like raking in the money, and he's like, I hate having to Google what Los Angeles it is.
Well, it's actually 4,000 square feet, but I mean, who's counting?
Oh, so he's counting his millions, and he's like, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Can you tell me the difference between blue Los Angeles and red Los Angeles?
I just need to hire somebody for that. You know what I mean? Like, tell me what Los Angeles team this is. Come on.
What do you pay an hour? I'll be more than happy to Zoom you.
Right. Exactly.
I'm waiting for the virtual tours. What I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the virtual tour to come out, and then do you have the booth babe involved where they're showing the product?
Right.
Doing the Van turning the cards.
That's what he was going to hire me for. I mean, I know Vanna can't hold a candle to me, but hey, I can flip it around and say, it's tier 1.
I mean, he would have the job if he wasn't an A's fan. That's one of our requirements. But
I'm an Rangers fan. Does that hurt? I mean,
I know. Brad and I were like this, and then he said 1985 and started to break apart. And then he showed me his dumb Rangers T-shirt, and that's it.
Oh, wow! Love
like a
is
candle
gone.
in a wind.
The love is gone.
The friendship is gone.
That's where he draws the line.
That's it, man. Golly, and I was going to even let that. I wasn't even going to mention that date anymore. I was going to let it go, but okay. I see how it is.
It lives.
I love the Rangers. 2010 was great. I love the Rangers. So.
Well, if you don't let a ball bounce on top of your head, then you got yourself a World Series ring.
Yeah, I think the guy's doing pretty well for the Twins.
Yeah.
41 home runs last year.
We actually have two representatives of the formerly known as the Washington Senators represented here.
I know.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a good segue, right?
It is.
Indeed. So speaking of guys that are leaving their team, let me share my screen. I have control over that. So, Panini Luminance comes out this week, and I don't know if you guys noticed, Tom Brady is not wearing that other team.
Yeah,
he's wearing Tampa Bay's jersey.
Mm-hmm. That's sharp. I mean, I'm not a huge Brady fan, but that's sharp.
But it's as it should be, right?
Uniforms.
We're less than less than 3 weeks away from the traditional, or isn't the Hall of Fame game usually at the end of July? In normal circumstances. So, I mean, we're like really up against the start of the NFL preseason here pretty quick, and he should be coming out in new products as a member of the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean,
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the old 1980s with the typesetting. Those old 1980s, early 1990s Donruss is what that looks like with that script.
Sure,
mm-hmm.
I kind of like that
mid 90s Panini.
Maybe? Yeah.
There was that one series that was embossed, I believe,
mm-hmm.
that had the name that was kind of raised off of the cardstock.
Yeah, I really liked it. I didn't think I'd like that card when I first heard that was coming out, but I really liked that. It may be a little bit too much red, but I like the name really pops, which is really, really cool. Mm-hmm. And then
full bleed.
Yeah,
the only thing they screwed up is they didn't use the sunburst orange jersey for Tom here.
That would have been interesting.
Creamsicle. Do a throwback.
The creamsicles when I was. Maybe that's the parallel this year.
Could be the parallel version. Something about the Bucks, I'm going to have to change my opinion because every time I see a Bucks card, it's just like they suck. They've just always sucked to me. I know they won the Super Bowl with Gruden, but they're just always bad. And now, we'll see what Brady does. Maybe he'll change the culture over there, and they'll be a winning team. So,
well, coach is not half bad, and they might have a tight end. Maybe, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
They definitely have enough offensive weapons to succeed.
Yeah, definitely.
If their defense is just, middle of the pack, they definitely have a good opportunity to it always goes back to the big underlier, right? Which is injuries. And you got a 43, 44-year-old quarterback. You got a tight end that was injury prone in his Hall of Fame years and now is a year removed from the game. And, there's still a lot of extenuating variables, but if I'm in Vegas and I'm laying money on the line, it'd be hard to not at least consider Tampa Bay as a top 3 to top 5 because you just can't sell Brady short until he's gone or he jumps off that proverbial cliff. You can't say that he's not Tom Brady. It pains me to say that because I can't stand the guy, but
we got into a really big argument about this at work. I mean, I called him. I pulled a Ben and said he was a system quarterback, and let the feathers fly. But if you think about what Bledsoe did, and then Brady came in and did. If you go way back, and think about Bledsoe, and then Brady came in. Well, Brady doesn't have the coach. Brady doesn't have the offensive system, and what kind of offensive line does he have? And then are the refs actually going to protect him now? And who's going to tee off on him first? Because I'm sure that the defensive linemen and the defensive ends are just ready to just have at him. And then let's flip it on the goes. What happens if he gets out there and he says, "Oh well, I've got COVID," or what happens if a couple of guys get COVID? What happens then? I mean, it's going to be such a weird anomaly of what Brady is or isn't this year. Is it really going to affect his legacy? Probably not. Is it going to affect his cards? Probably not. His newer stuff. What's his newer stuff going to do? That's the stuff that I'm going to be interested in. Look at what the Montana did with the Chiefs. Look what everything did. So,
Peyton, yeah.
Look at Peyton's. I mean, that's a great example of somebody who secured his legacy and now is just being a huge representative of the sport. And now how he's out there all the time, constantly just being a great representative and being a great personality. I mean, even if you didn't love Peyton Manning, you at least now know Nationwide's always on your side, and you know him from the challenges and him being a good sports personality. So Does that translate to Tom? Does Tom want to do something like that? I'll stop rambling and let y'all go.
And I think, the system quarterback is almost like a complement to the team's success, right? I mean, like I say that about the Niners, like Raheem Mostert is looking, get traded. Well, I feel like he's a system running back. You know what I mean? Where somebody else could come in there and possibly have the same amount of success. I think it's a testament to both Brady being good and Belichick running just such a tight ship. So I don't know if it's necessarily a negative by saying he's a system quarterback. You almost want somebody who's going to be a system quarterback. Play as a team,
because you know what you're getting, right? It's why we watch the same TV shows over and over again, whether it's to deal with our anxiety because we know what's coming up. So we don't have to, we don't necessarily have to watch it the same way. We knew what we were going to get with Brady for 20 years, whether you're a fan of his or not. You knew that they were going to go 11-5 or better. You knew that there was a good chance they were going to be the number 1 or 2 seed. And there was a good chance they were going to the Super Bowl. You just knew that for a very long period of time. And there's nothing wrong with that unless you're a fan of, say the Jets or Bills or Dolphins, then yeah, that sucks. But, there's nothing wrong with that. It's as much a compliment as it is a negative. And I saw somebody on Facebook post a question about, Michael Jordan's market and will his cards go up when the NBA season comes around? And most people are like, seriously? He's not playing anymore, right? There are certain players, Jordan being one of them, Brady being another, that I think their market is what it's going to be forever. Mickey Mantle obviously is a big one in baseball, and they're just kind of entrenched outside of doing something completely unforeseen, something extremely negative that's a real world thing. I don't think there's anything Tom Brady can do to uncement his legacy in the sport or as a one-off here into our hobby. He's always going to be highly sought after, whether he's in Tampa Bay or he's in Las Vegas next year, and he becomes kind of a, Brett Favre and just kind of jumps from team to team at the last 2-3 years of his career. Jerry Rice is, we saw him in Oakland, and then he ended up in Denver, and then he ended up in Seattle. These guys, their legacy is already been written outside of any serious legal issues.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I'm going to be following is how Belichick got basically handed MVP quarterback, which everybody passed on, which was crazy. But Belichick watching those games, they may be down at halftime, and you just know that he's going to make an adjustment. He's going to take somebody else out of the game. If somebody already has 100 yards rushing, he's not going to get like 10 or 20 more because they're going to stop that. And I don't think you've seen that he's the only coach in history I can see that can completely readjust his game plan and even stop using guys that are successful. Like that guy that had, I forget that guy's name, but he had like 4 touchdowns on a Sunday night. Well, he was late for practice on a Tuesday and they got rid of him. It's just like it was just such a tight ship, and being able to make those adjustments to win games is, I don't think anybody's done that before. Nobody's been that Belichick, and we'll see if there's going to be a next Belichick.
Yeah. So that reminds me of you were talking about that. That reminded me of Jimmy Johnson, and then I went back and flashed back to the old Pro Set cards, and all the old Pro Set cards. Just that was a lot of fun to think about that time. So, but with Belichick, if you think about it, he's already been caught again. He's already been caught again. Again. Really? You can't. Come on. Really? At what point do fans or do people just finally say, you know what, you're just a cheater. You're just, it's just. I know Boston. He won championships. Who cares? But you're just a cheater. What?
If they're looking to get rid of him because he's a cheater, he's more than welcome to come to Minnesota. Because I would love to know what a successful coach with a quarterback who stays more than 3 years feels like.
Well, you got stuck with just that guy in Kirk Cousins, paying him $30 million a year to just be.
It's not even him. It's Cousins, it's Favre, it's Cunningham, it's Moon, it's everybody who's at the tail end of their career.
Hey, Culpepper was young, and he was a stud until his knees went one way and he went the other way.
Right.
Hey, Ponder was supposed to be the savior.
He was. Wasn't he supposed to be like the greatest coming of of mediocrity.
Tim Tebow, maybe.
now people in my chat only talk about his wife now, so that's how what happened there. He got surpassed.
I mean, Samantha, yeah.
It's one of those things that there was a funny Facebook meme that said, "Listen, Brady's either going to get cut by Tuesday or he's going to win a Super Bowl with Tampa. There's no in between, right?" Mm-hmm. And then, or no, excuse me, it's Cam Newton. I apologize, not Brady. Cam Newton. He's either going to win with New England or he's going to be cut by Tuesday. But that's how Belichick rolls. You tell me if Belichick becomes a legitimate free agent head coach and has a desire to go to another franchise, there aren't going to be the better part of 31 teams lining up saying, I don't know who you are, even if it's an established head coach with a lot of success. And you know, if you watch the documentary on McGuire and Sosa and you saw the excitement that surrounded that home run, you know, Griffey was a part of it for the first half of the season.
Yep.
And it's like 10 years later, we're all vilifying these guys saying, oh, they're horrible. They were on HGH and steroids and how dare they? It's like, whoa. Settle down, you know, bucko. Go back to 98 and we were all sitting there on the edge of our seats. We were looking at the newspaper first thing in the morning to see the tracker. Who homered yesterday? You know, is it McGuire? Is it Sosa? Was it Griffey the first, you know, up until like June or July? Mm-hmm. We're watching this chase. We were all there. We were all guilty. Yeah, they were taking the drugs. They were taking the enhancers. That's fine. But let's not sit here and try to be, you know, up on our soapbox and say we didn't, you know, willfully watch and enjoy it, right?
Yep.
In other words, yeah, Belichick's a cheater. We know that. We know a lot of people in professional sports cheat. But you know what? Here we are wearing the hat.
Yep.
And here we are collecting, you know. If we were smart, we would take all this money, we would put it in the stock market on a 2% return. We'd put it in our 401k and we'd let it sit there for the next 20, 30, 40 years until we retire. That's the smart thing to do, but we don't. And we all sat here as friends for 20 minutes talking crap about each other and our team affiliations because we have a passion. Right? What is a fan? It's a fanatic, right? Do we care that Belichick cheated? Yeah, in that moment because we're like, hell yeah, let's get them New England Patriots. But at the end of the day, we still follow it. And if he wanted to come to Las Vegas, I'd be like, does he need me to help pack him up? I'll drive to New England right now and grab him.
I thought you were quitting the Raiders.
You know how it is. It's that whole broke back theory, you know. You can't ever quit the team that you love.
Well, you know what I was thinking? I was watching some highlights the other day because there's no live sports on. And I was just thinking there's almost cheating in every football game if you think about it. Like how many times does a guy catch a ball for a first down, knowingly fall and drop the ball, but then get up like he caught the ball and rush the entire team to the line to hike it so they can get basically a free play? Isn't that like kind of cheating? You know, if you were playing with your buddies schoolyard football and you dropped the football, you'd be like, I dropped it. You know what I mean? But like in professionals, like I didn't drop it. Let's hurry up. Let's cheat. You know what I mean? It's kind of a thing.
You know, the guy that falls down and he's going to reach his hand out that extra, yard, whatever his little arm will extend. Because why not? Is it cheating? Well, maybe not. But it's what it is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and cheating is a very loose word to anybody out there that's listening. Right. It's all relative.
Right.
You know, as an accountant, you're not cheating on your taxes if you're exploiting a known loophole that the IRS literally allows us to exploit and take advantage of. That's not cheating on your taxes. You know,
right.
You know, it's not cheating on your diet because we're over the age of 18 and we legally can have ice cream for dinner.
Right.
If our doctors didn't want us to eat ice cream, they would outlaw ice cream for dinner. They don't.
Yeah.
It's not cheating on your diet. You know, and besides, a diet is whatever you eat. Technically, everything is our diet, right? My diet as a large man is not as healthy as other people's. You know, people want to eat grass and weeds, and I choose to eat ice cream and cookies. You know, who's right and who's wrong?
Right.
You know, if they say otherwise, there's a mute button. I don't have to listen to their nonsense. Right. Just like I can go find a new doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he got muted somehow.
He muted you. Or Steph,
I had the power.
You should, you should like talk under your breath, like what he was saying or something.
Steph's diet consists of all kinds of alcohol late at night on Wednesdays.
Stubbs?
Yeah.
With some chicken.
So let's switch.
Somebody in the chat said it's only cheating if you get caught. It's not exactly true. Barry Bonds.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, Barry Bonds never got caught. Still recognized as a cheater. So
that's true. That's true.
It's all subjective, right? And it's easy to be on your soapbox when new facts come out, right? But the bottom line is we all turn a blind eye to all of this stuff, and a lot of that's going on right now in the NFL with Belichick, and it's what it is.
Yep.
Sells jerseys. Sells jerseys.
Any kind of cheating if we bring sports back. Let them all cheat at this point. I just want to watch something.
Yeah,
it's entertainment, right? Who cares?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, we're all sitting here on a Monday night. We spent 30 minutes now yucking each other up and talking about, and we spent 20 minutes of it talking about Belichick and the Patriots. I mean, they got to be doing something right.
Yucking it up. I don't think I've heard that one before.
Yucking it up.
And we all watch Goodfellas and root for the mafia, right? It's like, yeah, kill that guy, right? It's like, wait a minute, whoa, take a step back. We're not rooting for these people in real life to be doing this, but when we watch our movies and our TV shows, and what do we watch professional sports for, right?
Right.
We're watching for the home runs, and we're watching for the touchdowns, and that's why when people used to vilify, Terrell Owens and Chad Johnson, and they're like, these guys just score your touchdown like Barry Sanders and hand the ball off. And I'm like, I'm watching this for entertainment. If Terrell Owens wants to do something stupid like run to the star and show up the Cowboys, I don't care if he gets If Darren Woodson wants to decapitate him, cool. I don't care. Just make sure the camera has different angles because I want to see it. Yeah. I mean, seriously, how many of us
brought back the celebrations? I think because it brings the personality to the players.
Mm-hmm.
It's the no fun league, guys. Come on, it's the no fun league.
How many of us have actually went outside into our yard when our neighbors are outside, yelling at each other and throwing their lawn chairs at one another, and you're out there? Hey, now's a really good time for me to mow the yard.
I've never done anything like that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
let me go clean the stuff
guys.
with the McDonald's out of my car right now. It's 100-degree weather, but you know what? Now's a perfect opportunity for this. I've been wanting to do it for months now.
I want to get close to the
You guys can't tell me you haven't done a pickup game of football and done the Dion hand behind the head, knee kicking high as hell when you catch a pass deep, running into the end zone.
Yep.
I'm 5'2". I don't knee high anything. Okay.
I heard Brad's knee high to a grasshopper.
There you go.
Us short guys have to stick together. Now the friendship's coming back.
Yeah, the love is back. So I was listening to I can't remember who it was, somebody this week talking about, and if you don't want to go here, then just say boo and we'll move on. But I was really, really just thrown off by card cutting for PSA, and really, we were talking about cheating. So let's talk about cheating into cards because eventually we need to talk about baseball or football cards or whatever. So I was appalled or even shocked to think. I mean, I never would have ever thought to take this. Yes, live it,
89 score,
love it. Live that Aikman. But I mean, to think that somebody would actually take this and cut the edges or make it a hair, just to cut it to make the edges sharper or make that corner just that's cheating. That's like, doesn't it break the integrity of the card? And why? I mean, it was flabbergasted. Why would people, other than, okay, let's think about money and all that other, but why? I mean, why would you subject yourself to that? And doesn't it later on just hurt the person who's having? Because who knows if this is? I only know it's real because I pulled it straight from the pack back in 1989. I but this one, I bought this one off eBay. I mean, it's a Pete Alonso car. I don't know if it's been cut or not. And now I'm worried about this my first perfect card that I've ever had is it really coming out at 10 or was it an 8 and somebody cut the card? And
right.
I couldn't believe. Is it really that bad? Is it really that bad?
And I think you hit it on the head when you said money. That's what it is. It's number one. It's money. And I mean, unfortunately, when the industry's hot like this, and it has been for the last 4 or 5 years, there's more and more slime balls. There's actually a lot more slime balls than you would know. And they do these things. They buy these cards, and they buy it for 10% of what they wind up selling it for, because they're able to turn a 6 into a 10 or whatever. And, luckily there's guys on like the blowout forums, that 312 guy or whatever, that's able to kind of cross-reference and has caught a few of them. But I mean, even PSA, there's that LeBron. I don't know if I think we might have talked about this story. It was a couple months ago, where there's a LeBron that's been altered by the patch. So it hasn't been cut, but the patch had been switched out to a multicolored patch. And I think it was PWCC that owns the card. They sent a letter to Blowout saying that they need to cease and desist talking about it on the forum, because it's only in the eye of the beholder if the card is altered or not. The card was graded, I think, by either PSA or BGS. So they're saying they're falling back on that, saying that BGS graded it and it's legit, and that you guys are basically costing us like $300,000 by saying that this card is altered. So,
well, and to that, on the reprint cards, because this came up with Gaudy not too long ago, where they intentionally fade the back, erase out the part where it says reprint, and then try to pass them off either by creasing it or, it's a 2 or a 1 authentic, but it's still faked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if it's a $5 reprint shipped, and you could turn that into a $1,500 one, right? So you're paying a couple bucks to get that into your possession. You spend an hour or two, altering it, and then you send it off to grading for $40. You're into this thing for $50 and some time, and you can turn it into $1,500. Right. I would like to think that the most of us in the hobby like to live on this side of the fence, where the grass is green and the roses are always, in bloom. The girls are pretty, and the unicorns, prance around, and it's great. But then there's that other side of the fence where people are just, are flat out criminals. And then you have this area maybe in the middle of the two fences, where a lot of people kind of dabble and kind of get away with. And that's where like ACO cards start to come into play, right? What's the difference between an ACO card and an altered card, right? I mean, you start to get into all these gray areas, and at the end of the day, you, the collector, has to decide, do I want a homemade card? What's the difference between a homemade card and if the four of us got together and created our own baseball card company, non-licensed, and competed on the level of, say, Leaf, right? No offense to Leaf, but, they don't hold that license. Mm-hmm. And I know I've personally joked a lot about Brian Gray's, making his cards out of his car, which I'm certain he still does, right? But if we were to make homemade cards, what's the difference between that and any number of people that we're aware of? I don't want to call anybody on the map, but as a collector, hey, it's cool. If it's a cool card, I'll take it. It goes back to the whole unlicensed thing. For me, that works. For the next person, maybe they don't want anything to do with that. As long as you're not infringing upon anybody's trademarks and intellectual property, I don't see an issue with trying to make that money. Now, when you're altering cards, it's completely different, because you're now perpetrating a fraud. Yeah. And that's a whole, and again, that's where the gray areas start to get awful black and white, awful quick, because you're not allowed to alter it and sell it under false pretenses. At least not here in California. Yeah.
Well, if I were to take one of the cards that I sent you, Ben, I mean, just think about it. Basically, if I bought the Puck Chrome off eBay and I thought, you know what, I don't want this card. My friend Ben, he'd love this card. Let me send it to you. I've now committed mail fraud, because I've taken that card and I've purchased it and I've shipped it across state lines. That's mail fraud. So
and the thing is, even if you call me up and you're like, hey, I got this card, I altered it for fun, right? I had fun with it. Just like I know a lot of people are infringing on Blake Jameson's artwork by creating their own in the Blake Jameson style, by dashing paint all over it, right? And selling it by using his name on eBay. it's one of those things where even if you do something to that card, Brad, and you send it to me and I know it, it's no big deal, right? Because it's not for profit. But the second I sell it, and or the second that it ends up, I die of a heart attack tomorrow and it goes into somebody else's collection and they're none the wiser that this, reprint Gaudy was altered and it was a reprint that was faded to look as original as possible because I'm never going to, get one. If somebody wants to create a T206 Eddie Plank for my collection and say, here's a homemade piece, this thing looks authentic. Stick it in your binder, compliments of me, and then I die and my wife goes and sells my collection and somebody's buying this Eddie Plank not knowing because it looks so damn real. Who's at fault? And now you have this fraud card, this altered card, this created card out in the market being sold as real. Who's at fault? And that's where it gets extremely convoluted and complicated because just because I slice off a corner to make it a little prettier, doesn't mean that it's not going to end up 3, 4, because we're all, at the end of the day, we're all caretakers. You don't own anything, right? You don't own anything. Doug does not own that hat. At some point, somebody else is going to have it. It's probably going to end up in a thrift store someday. And somebody's going to buy it for a nickel, go, oh, God, I need a hat when I go out into the yard and do some yard work. But you think about that. We are all caretakers. We're all going to die. And somebody else is going to have this. Just like so many of these cards, we got cards in my collection from 1888. I didn't pull those from a pack, and neither did any of you.
Yeah, and I think you're right with that gray area. And I think outfits like PWCC and Shilstein 123 allow people to kind of air their dirty laundry without any accountability, right? So the cards that are cut, the cards that are shill bid or whatever to increase value or manipulate the market are sent to these guys. And these guys are basically kind of like the money launderers in a sense. And, I'm not trying to tear them down as far as their business model. Their business model is what it is. But, people can take pictures of their own cards. It's like I almost try to sway away from buying anything from those guys because I know it's going to be $100, $200, $300, $400 higher than the next one that sells. But yeah, any trimmed cards, any altered cards can just easily go to those guys without any accountability.
Well, this is a great. I finally have a great question for you, Doug. I've been waiting for a long time. Oh, I see. I see. Wow. Okay. So you're breaking cards constantly. You're constantly looking at cards. You're constantly touching. So what percentage would you think are truly coming out of a box, or just take whatever sample size you want? What percentage do you really think are coming out at a 9.5 to a 10? What are really, what we're going back to quality, and I know Steph loves this conversation, but how do you really know that the stuff that's coming out is really good quality stuff? Because my eye, I've sent 2 or 3 in and I'm like, I thought this would, and then get back and it's like a 7. So I'm like, I'm out. What is really the percentages?
It's 10 to 15%. There's a lot of like pack damaging going on some of the sets, unfortunately, especially the thicker cards. A lot of those that are hard signed, those are dinged corners right out of the gate. We get emails all the time saying that we did it. And it's like, no, watch the video. You can see, and we try to point it out when we see it. Sometimes you don't see it. And, it's like you rewatch the video, thank God for HD. And you're like, no, that card came out that way. It's hard signed. So it's, who knows? We see in the Acuna photo, you see how they handle these cards sometimes, and they're not always going to be gem. But I'm with you. I haven't been able to crack the grading code either. It's something like you said. It's like I look at it and it looks like a 9.5, then I get an 8, or I get a 9 or whatever, and I'm like, wow, I don't know where I missed there. I even wanted to do an experiment by just keep cracking the same unnumbered card and sending it and see how many times it would be a different grade, because it probably is every time. It'll be a 9.5, it'll be a 9 the next time, because it's all subjective.
Well, it's just like Brad's question. First off, that question at best was a PSA 6.
Wow.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack it. I'm going to trim it up a little bit. I'm going to ask Doug in a better way and see if I get like a BGS 9.5.
Okay.
I'll be the judge of that. See if that's a BSG 9.
First off, we can mute you and boot you out of the thing, right? Am I right?
Thank you, Steph. Thank you. I've got a nice box here sitting right beside me for you.
All I'm saying is next time, don't bring a Rangers t-shirt up in here, okay? And then say, I got a great question.
Transition for an open letter to the hobby community card producers and service providers. I don't know if you guys saw this. M. Molesky on Twitter wrote out a huge, thought out, 1.5 page, 2-page essay, essentially asking, hey, why are things done the way they are? These things are late. These things come in cracked. These things appear as you claim that they're 9s or 10s, but someone had actually shrunk them and used water and cut them and trimmed them. And, asking for a little respect for the hobby dollar, trying to convince myself to stay engaged, but despite poor experiences and customer service and redemptions and everything else, where is Mike, as it were? Where's the accountability? And I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this.
I'm going to pull up the tweet right now if somebody wants to take it. I'm going to take a few things out of it.
In there.
I'll throw 2 cents. I think it comes back to the almighty dollar. I mean, as long as they keep shoving product as quick as they can out the door, Q3, Q4, and as long as we keep getting, as long as we keep getting the millionaires and the billionaires into the industry, and they're driving amazing gentlemen out of the business. I mean, I watched that interview 2 or 3 times just to garnish everything that I could out of it. But once they keep driving people out and the almighty dollar, at some point, until somebody goes from the rooftops, Ben, I can't wait till you do this, and go, enough is enough, dang it, I've had it and I'm not going to take it anymore. Then,
that's what I was going to do as soon as the show ended.
And we're not surprised.
I got to do one that doesn't have like a lip on it though, because I'm short, so people aren't going to be able to see me.
Well, I got to have that 6-foot ladder.
The best.
I'd advise everybody to take a look at that on M. Molesky. It's on Twitter, but he basically says, I'm here to voice my displeasure about the extremely poor customer service at the card companies and at each of the big 3 grading companies. The average Joe consumer is getting totally disrespected. And I have a couple points of view. I'm not saying that this is wrong. Everybody, sees what happens. Everybody doesn't get answered right away. But I put out a tweet just because I get some emails that are unreasonable. And I thought, are the companies dealing with so many unreasonable requests? Like, hey, when's this going to get signed? When's this going to get signed? When's this going to get signed? You guys suck. F this. I mean, you could go on their Facebook, you can go on their Twitter, you can read all the comments. Yeah. Do you think that has made them numb to really taking care of maybe the people that matter?
Did you see the picture the other day that Topps tweeted out, Doug, that had them in like the hallway that had like their old 8x10s on the wall from like old TV shows and movies? Like they had like the Goonies and stuff. And I made a comment like, I want that Goonies one in my house. They put it on Facebook as well. And the comment by Topps, it says something to the effect of, feeling a little nostalgia, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It wasn't anything wrong, completely harmless. And then in Facebook, it was just lit up. Well, if you're feeling so nostalgia, how about, fulfilling my redemption from 4 years ago? And I'm like, first off, how I understand you're upset that your redemption's gone 4 years without being filled, but what's that got to do with what they're posting?
Yeah.
You're literally trying to piggyback on this as a customer service issue when they're posting something completely unrelated.
Correct.
And so, yeah, it would be like, it would be like somebody calling the hobby hotline right now to discuss business with Mojo Break live on air and put you guys. And I'm surprised we haven't had that yet, honestly. It just takes one bad apple. But with Topps, customer service is maybe not their biggest priority. It should be, but maybe it's not. And I had a conversation with my dad earlier today about parallels, and he's like, "You guys are just a bunch of fish in a sea, and they're fishing." And they're throwing it down there, and you're eating whatever bait they throw at you. It's the same card, and it's done in 50 different parallels, and it goes back to like what we're talking about with Prism and all these different colors. And I was like, the easy answer, Dad, is just get out of the hobby. If you don't like it, so many things are what they are, to use a very lazy explanation. It is what it is. I hate that, but it is. We're not going to change it unless we speak with our collective wallets. Mm-hmm. And for every one of us that drops out, 2 more people are diving right into that water and gobbling up our space. And, as much as we'd like to think, I mean, maybe it's a little different for you, Doug, because of what you do for a living. But as a collector, no matter what I spend, do you think Topps and Panini really care if I decide to quit the hobby tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Their bottom line's not going to be affected because they'll have another guy come in. And hell, I don't even buy directly from them. I mean, if you, Doug, and Dan decide that you guys are no longer going to be buying product, yeah, that's going to affect them somewhere down the line because of the sheer volume.
Maybe. Probably not, but maybe.
Right,
but, I mean, it'll affect my evening watching because now I can't watch you guys, but that's, But, I told that.
Chat, look at that. That's cool. Mike
that is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, I illustrated the point with my dad, which is a little bit of a one-off because I told him, I said, what's the difference between us buying all of these parallels and you guys back in the day buying all your different card backs of Star Wars Kenner action figures that had the 9 figures and the 11 figures? He goes, that's totally different, man. It's totally different. I said, how? It's a parallel back. It's the exact same thing. It's the same Ewok. It's the same Darth Vader in the thing. I said, or maybe this, it's got the Jawa with the cloth instead of the leather. It's a chase variant. I said, it's the same thing. You collect what you like. And he goes, no, it's different. I said, I think you think in your head it's different, Dad. I said, but it's not. I said, what's the difference in 2013 when 37 releases had Yoenis Cespedes with the same image, Ginter and Gypsy in Series 1 and Series 2? I said, it was lazy on their part. I said, but it was the same thing. It was a reissue image. And then they would not only do that, they would have 50 different borders. So it's the same thing as you guys used to do, and I had to have all of the Boba Fett's.
Mm-hmm. Right.
With Revenge of the Jedi. Oh, we're going to change to Return of the Jedi. So now the Revenge of the Jedi card back is worth so much more because it's seen as get this, super short print.
Yeah.
And there's so many parallels. And I was like, at the end of the day, if you don't like it, this is how collecting is 2020. You don't like it? Cool. There's the door. We all can walk out at any time. Nobody's holding us hostage.
Well, you don't have to buy all these products either, right?
We're like going to a grocery store. Let's all 5 of us go out to dinner tonight. Let's all go to the grocery store, and we're all buying separately. We're not going to go to the checkout stand with the same stuff.
No.
But we're all buying food. Same kind of a thing. Same concept. Except food is something.
I was going to say the last point and before you guys jump in, the last point to Mike is, there definitely does need to be some kind of structural changes with the customer service, whether it be an automated response, which I know nobody loves, but something to communicate. A surefire way to hey, it may take 5 days for us to get back to you, but we will get back to you rather than just leaving people in the dust.
Well, and speaking as someone who does customer service,
in the hobby,
provide as much information as you can, because just saying that, hey, where's my order, probably isn't going to help you. You might want to give them what card you're waiting on, a shipping number, a tracking number, something that can help them look it up. You're probably going to get a better response that way.
We get those. What cards did I get in the break? That's it. Just what cards did I get in the break?
What's your name?
You guys aren't automated enough to have every single card I'm getting.
Right, exactly. And then they'll send it from a different email. So even if you look for the email that they use a different email to send a response than what they did in the order, so that it's just like it doesn't exist.
Yep.
So you're right on that regard.
So 2 other points here. 1, Chris, welcome.
Welcome, Chris.
How's it going?
So Chris.
2, not quite our industry, but similar. To the variants here.
Wow.
Heritage Auctions just sold a variant where the Bros is on the left, the quote-unquote left Bros edition, instead of being underneath the Rio and Mario. Heritage Auctions sold it for 16.5.
Jeez.
Is this the actual auction link here?
Oh my gosh.
That's insane. Who kept those games sealed? That's what I want to know.
Sealed, it's apparently a first run because
it's I'm not going to play it.
Printed in the wrong section. But I think it went for 6 digits.
That would have to be a dealer copy, you would think.
You would think, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because any reasonably hot game like Zelda, Link, any of those Super Mario games, it's like, how did you not sell it? right? So even if it's like,
how did you not open it?
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, so you can make the argument of like, how did you not open it? But then it's like, okay, well, a dealer had an excess stock. Well, how did he not sell it? I mean, it was like one of the hottest games at the time, right?
Yeah. We in our house, because my dad was a large collector and dealer of collectibles and antiques. You know, the family joke is you have to leave it in the box. You can't play with the toy. It has to be mint in the box, almost gradable, which makes Steve Carell's character in The 40-Year-Old Virgin even funnier because a lot of his one-liners about his toys was my childhood. And, you know, in our hobby, I mean, I kept all of these packs. You know, I'd open up the wrappers. You're ripping into a pack of 87 tops. You better lay out smooth out that wrapper because someday they're going to be worth something. And, you know, it's like, at what point are we just keeping crap in our house for the fact that someday it might be worth something? You know, what, for 30 years, Dad? Seriously, I have to keep this wrapper on the off chance? You know, I'm sorry if I leave.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, and I know Chris has something to say, but all this stuff that's around me that I bought was from a guy that passed away, and his two daughters were selling it, and the grandson, the wife, nobody knew he had all this. So nobody knew how to sell it. Nobody knew anything about it. They had zero, you know, and I'm like, for one, how do you hide all this? For two, it's like, you probably got to prompt somebody and say, hey, you know, this is what you need to do with it. You need to know, you need to know a little bit about this, and this is how you sell it, or call this guy. And like, none of them had any ideas. So it's crazy to me. I mean, we gave them a very, very fair price, where they made money. We're going to be able to make money on it. We're going to probably open a lot of it for nostalgia reasons, but it was just amazing to me. Like, back to your story, but the figurines, it's like, how did nobody in this guy's family know about any of this stuff? And it's all sealed.
That's crazy.
I'm just salivating.
You had a question, Chris?
I just wanted to make a comment because I think in that same auction, there was a Super Mario 1 game in the box. It sold for like $150,000.
Jeez.
And when you consider that like every NES came with like Super Mario and Duck Hunt, the combo cartridge.
Yep, that's what I had.
And this was just Super Mario by itself. I don't even remember seeing that ever for sale.
No.
So
maybe it was like a producer copy or whatever they do with those things.
Or whatever it was. Yeah. But it was sealed and in like, it was like one of the original like black box style games that was in the style of like the first wave of games that came out in '85 when the NES came out.
Oh,
that kind of design of the box.
Yeah. No, I remember it very, very well. I remember breaking that box and throwing it in and having much hours of fun in a hot Texas afternoon in the summer.
It may be like Doug said, right? Somebody died. You know, somebody worked for Nintendo, an executive got this as a, collector piece, for launching Super Mario Brothers, and he left it in his showcase for his entire life, and then he died, and then it went to auction. After his death, that new caretaker, I don't want it. I don't want those baseball cards. What do I do with it? Well, I sell it to Mojo Break, and I'm making my dad's longtime best friend recently passed. Well, not recently, but a couple years ago, and his son found a bunch of trains. And this guy's kind of like the rich client of toy trains, right? A hobby legend. And it was like his personal collection sitting out in a shed. And my dad gave him a really good deal, and a lot of those trains are here, and this guy had warehouses, like literally warehouses that would probably put Mojo Break's new 4,000 square foot to shame, right? No offense, it was just that's how much he had, and all of this stuff got sold at an estate sale years ago when he passed away, and then all of a sudden you got another thing of trains, and they're just sitting there. Some are rusted and garbage, but some are still in pristine condition. And it's like, because the guy had more than one house, and the family's just around getting to this house now, and they're finding more stuff. And it's like, where did this stuff come from? And it's like, we see it all the time in our hobby with different stuff.
Wasn't it Uncle somebody up in New York, Uncle Jack or something like that? They just found a huge Uncle Jimmy. They found a huge treasure trove of like PSA 10, PSA 9, 1950s, like some ultra super
9 signed Babe Ruth Goudies.
Babe Ruth signed Goudies, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's awesome, and that's fantastic that's now being allowed to be into the hobby, and that history is being shown. But man, I was asking, come on, Bethune, wake up. I was asking somebody earlier today, how do you, like behind you, how do you not just turn around and just rip into every single bit of that behind you and just go, God, I mean, I've got boxes sitting over here that I'm just aching to just open, and it takes everything. How do you hold on to that stuff?
Self-control and making sure that you don't drink around it.
It's a good point. I mean, I kind of have the same issue. My wife's aunt didn't have any kids. They're a middle-aged couple, 50s, 60s. But they found when they were remodeling their house that just below the firewall, there's mounds and mounds of coins that fell out when they were doing the re-insulation. Sealed it back up. It's in the Cleveland area. They have three major assets counting the business. One, they have a 44 Jeep that they built from the ground up that used to be the repair truck for Mackinac Island. And the second being their house. That one day me and Angela will apparently inherit. I don't look forward to that day because they're a lovely couple. But you'll be damned if that's not the first thing I do is rip out all of the walls. Just to see all of the coins.
See what it is.
She was talking about like Civil War coins, stuff from England in the 1300s coins, bills, just huge collection that obviously the family who obviously done some looking around trying to find it just didn't know where it was. Before
Steph's going to swing into Target first.
All to have 20-40
cargo pants.
Well, I always imagine, because you got like the Piedmonts and the Sweet Corporals and stuff that obviously were in cigarette packs. I just try to remember, I try to think back. Obviously, I'm not that old to know it, but I'm not 130 years old. But I just imagine these guys grabbing these cigarettes and be like, "Oh, a baseball card," and just throwing it away, right? I mean, what percentage of people, threw it away, 99%, you know what I mean? Because it's they didn't buy it for the card and they're like, baseball card, I'm gonna get my cigarette, it's how many people just would have had so much money if they just didn't throw this away.
Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I was just gonna say maybe Chris might be able to be more accurate on the amount that still exists, but they're rumored to be about 3 million T206s roughly still available on the market in private collections that still exist 110 years later, and to that point where these were not the selling point necessarily. Sure. And a lot of these ended up with kids who destroyed them and ended up in garbage cans based on the original print run versus what still exists. Considering 3 million, and that might be, I mean that's tremendous. Through the World War I and the Great Depression and World War II and Vietnam and people move and house fires and floods and we don't know what collecting was like back in 1909, but it damn sure didn't include one touches and top loaders and people keeping stuff and the way we do nowadays. It
would be interesting to find out which brand got kept the most. You know what I mean? I know you probably can't find out that data, but between the Piedmonts, the T206, whatever, which smokers kept their cards the most.
Any idea, Chris? Which T206 brand has the most?
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know.
It's got to be either Piedmont or Sweet Capital because
those are really the two more common variations that you see.
Yeah.
Well, you had the tobacco wars of the 19 teens, I believe, where you had the government coming in, and it was right around Prohibition, and that's where we see this huge gap in our hobby. where there just wasn't anything made, and you saw stuff trickle out in the 20s before Gowdy really came along in 33, and then we started seeing. I mean, even until what, Chris, we're at 1941 with the play balls. You didn't see a whole bunch in the 30s either.
40. No, not really. No.
I mean, there's just so many.
Gap between. I know 48. There was the Diamond Stars, which were mid 30s, and the Gowdies, and that's pretty much it for that era until you get to the play balls of 41.
Yeah.
And then the war.
Exhibit and National Chico has a couple in there.
But Exhibit lasted for what, 25 years? Didn't it start in like 48 and run through the early 60s?
Yeah, 47 to 66, plus or minus a couple other issues.
I mean, check out baseball
weren't really
cards.
Trading cards, though. They were
oversized.
Yeah,
postcard-ish, but skinnier.
They didn't come packaged with anything else.
Mm-mm.
Well, I was having a
machine.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I was having a discussion with my dad. Another discussion with my dad, and he was talking about, because all of his cards from the 50s and 40s and 60s, they're up in the attic. And when he was a kid, they told me, of course, they put them, 90% of them used them for bicycle spokes, and they used them for just throwing around. And that's, we know all the stories, but his cards went from the house here in Dallas to Germany to, I can't remember where we were stationed after that, and then back over into the States, moved 5 or 6 different times when I was a kid. And then from there, now they're hidden up in the attic, and I got to go dig them out at some point in time but if you think about just the modern day history, and then you go back to pre-war, World War II, World War I, just how incredible is the history of the hobby. I mean, it's just insane, and the ability of and I circle back of being able to have that collection just be able to be there. And we've got just people like Uncle Rich. We got people like Dr. Beckett. We've got all the historians here. I mean, Chris, had I known your history was I'd be calling you on the phone, just draining as much as I could from your, just because it's
pre-war really isn't my thing, but I know enough.
The
history. I mean, how is a new guy coming in?
The 94 Fleer Ultra. You got his attention.
Just as a new coming in, guys, just learn to respect the history and go back and learn some of the history. That you'll be fascinated to see where we got to and where we come to now, and you might be able to appreciate the some of the stuff now a little bit more than back then. So
definitely.
So wow. As we wrap up, I have one final thought, but do you guys have any?
That's it.
Ben, Brad, Chris.
Stay classy. 85.
There it goes.
Yeah. You've been poking at me all night long.
We are not to promote something, but you got About the Cards is working with a couple of hobby legends to try to bring a timeline show of what the hobby looked like throughout all the eras, and just kind of bow to some of these. One of the worst mistakes I think I ever made as a person was not sit my grandpa down, because he and his father worked on the locomotives back in the turn of the century. And not to sit him down with just a tape recorder and say, okay, grandpa,
start talking.
Yeah. And you can have your lunch break. It's California mandated. You get your half hour, but talk for 3-4 days and just tell us, because as soon as he dies, those stories are gone. Yeah. And they're not family history as much as they're history. And with all of the technology we have nowadays, guys like Dr. Jim Beckett aren't going to be around forever. And if we can pick his brain and have him tell us what he knows and get some of that out, and I'm glad he's doing the podcast, get some of these hobby icons that transcend, that are going to be, the name Beckett's going to live in this hobby for as long as this hobby exists.
Yeah.
Period. And to have access to him, and the fact that he's retired and he's willing to talk and ready to talk, it's like, let's reach out to him and just say, again, Grandpa, it's time to talk about, the locomotives. It's like, all right, come on, Jim, it's time to talk about the hobby. What do you know? Because what
did you do during the war?
Yeah. What was it like opening up T206?
Call him Grandpa.
Well, we have Uncle Rich, so why not Grandpa Beckett? And
Right.
What was your favorite one to open, Jim? Was it the polar bear in 1911? Come on. But
we can go back into a time machine about 50 or 60 years and ask Jefferson Burdick all that kind of stuff, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I would love to hear it if there were such recordings, or just even transcribed journal entries, something like that. I've always thought that's kind of cool. And speaking to that, someone recently in the chat on Facebook, as it were, looking for an early Globetrotters expert. I recently purchased a lot of artifacts from the late 20s to 60s that was owned by one of the original Globetrotters in the late 20s. Lots of pics, publicity, portfolio from the year after they won the championship in Chicago in 1940, business cards, hundreds of pages, scrapbook pages, newspaper clippings from early Globetrotters. Sounds like an amazing collection. If anybody can help him out, that's Joe LYGHT and Facebook.
Probably the Basketball Hall of Fame
would be a great suggestion.
Yeah, that might be something to look outside the hobby for, to find somebody. Maybe even reach out to the Globetrotters themselves and see if you get contact with somebody that represents the team.
Well, Nancy Lieberman's always a very open person. She might know somebody, or she's always very open to have conversations. I mean, that would be a place to start at least, and you might have something, someplace to go. Maybe even, I mean, the Mavericks have one or two different people that are a little long in the tooth in the hobby, so reach out to a couple of the NBA teams. I don't know exactly where you are, Joe, but I mean, that would be start there. And NBA, I'd just start poking around and asking, and don't be afraid to go like to all the CEOs and the top people. Your question is so fascinating, and it's to the point where that history, I'd call every single like admin of every single CEO of every single NBA team, minor league, the WNBA players. I go all hands on deck and just completely, because this is such a fact. There's probably going to be somebody out there that might want to write a book about this. I mean, this is an extremely nice find. So don't be afraid to reach out to anybody and everybody that you can.
Yeah, and
I know in baseball, there's SABR, the Society for American Baseball Research. Is there a parallel organization like that for basketball that anybody's aware of?
I don't think SABR's iconic. I know we throw that word around a lot, especially on this show, and we call each other legends and stroke our own egos. But SABR really is such a historical goldmine of not only knowledge but preservation. And but that might be something too. Reach out to SABR, even though it's unaffiliated, and say, hey, do you guys know anybody that I might be able to reach out to that would be a NBA and basketball equivalent? And at the end of the day, I think I'd be extremely careful not to sell it or move it too quick. I'd reach out to multiple sources and really do as much research on it as you can before you make an ultimate decision, because there might be something where somebody with the NBA wants to get, depending on how much of that you have. The NBA might want to acquire it and put it in different stadiums and whatnot on displays, or I try to reach out to somebody affiliated with the Globetrotters,
or even the Hall of Fame. Even somebody call the Hall of Fame and see if somebody at the Hall of Fame might have some
at their university if they attended one.
Yeah, and there's got to be like a professor somewhere, like an American history professor, or an African American studies professor who's focused on the Globetrotters or the early days pre-war basketball. That specializes in that. There's got to be someone like that somewhere.
I'm sure there's probably tons. It's just a matter of finding them. And we personally, not to speak for everybody, but I don't think any of the five of us know Anybody offhand, but at least, hopefully some of those resources, don't be afraid to sit there and dial some numbers.
It's a fascinating topic.
Use Twitter.
Write some emails. Yeah. Just shoot out. Our friend Nick Duante at Examine Baseball might be a good resource. He knows all kinds of stuff in baseball. I'm assuming somewhere along the way, I know he's done a lot for like Negro League stuff, and he might have some resources.
too.
Yeah, that he might be able to point you in the right direction at the very least, and
And that's kind of my final thought as we wrap up here, episode 6, as it were. It's great that we have social media, and it's great that we're able to share all of this with you. Have anybody come on as a special guest, or have a quick question, or just in their instance, with our suggestion, being able to fire off emails, copy paste even. Admin at Duke, admin at NCC, admin at NBA, admin at team name here. Boop, send, and boop, send. Be able to get a response. It's amazing. It's wonderful. And we love to bring it to you each and every week. And in this case, Monday. But remember, we're live every Saturday, upcoming this week with Drew, John, and myself.
Newman.
That's going to be a wonderful show. Make sure to subscribe and review our show everywhere we're at. Follow us on Twitter, Hobby Hotline, and we'll look to see you guys next week.
Last thing, love you, Ben.
Okay, Brad.